Hey, good afternoon. My name is Kathy Norman, and today I'm going to talk to you about the NULS Mainnet Explorer. The NULS Explorer reports on all activities affiliated with the blockchain. In the case of NULS Scan, it's going to report on our production blockchain environment. So let's go over and take a look at it. At this point in time, the height is this value here, which is the last block that was processed by a consensus node. A block is processed every 10 seconds, so that means that a block is processed 8,640 times per day. And block number one was processed in September of 2019. That's when we upgraded to NULS 2.0, and at that point in time, we reset the block counter. And notice that we have 103 consensus nodes. These are the nodes that process the blocks. And in our consensus environment, all the nodes are organized in a randomly generated list. And then each node will process an existing node on an existing block. And then when all the nodes have processed a block, then at that point in time, the new list is generated in the random order. See, there was a block just processed just then. The total number of nulls that are staked in consensus nodes is 46 million. The owners of these staked nulls are paid some small amount of a null every time the node that they're staked in processes a block. Now, the total supply of nulls available or actually created are 107 million. The nulls that are available to be traded are 80 million at this point in time. Now, let's take a look at a block. So the latest block was processed by this particular packing node that you could select and get more information on. Let's just click on this block. There is one transaction that was executed in this block, and that transaction paid the consensus node 1.83 nulls. Let's take a look at it. And in this particular case, these 4 accounts were paid some portion of a nulls, some portion of that consensus reward, and that portion is related to the number of nulls that they have staked in that node. Now I'm going to look at one more block so that you can take a look at something else, and that block is 1282221. So here we go, and here's the block 1282221, and notice here the consensus reward is 1.8, and there's 2 transfers that occurred, not for a great number of nulls I'll comment on. But let's just take a look at this transfer here. So in this case, with this transaction, this is the source of the nulls that were transferred to this account here. And you can click on these particular accounts to get additional information about who they are. And coincidentally, let's go to accounts. And these accounts are ordered or listed in based on total amount of nulls. So this account has the largest number of nulls of all accounts. And you can click on this account and you can find out when this account last transferred nulls or was the recipient of a transfer. And in that particular case, it was February 7, and there was a transfer of 2428. So you have the opportunity to look at all accounts if you chose to find out what's going on in terms of who's transferring what to whom. And now let's take a look at transactions. Transactions, currently the most recent transactions that were executed were all consensus rewards. In other words, each of these transactions is affiliated with the payment of nulls to a node based on the fact that that node processed a particular block. And once again, you can take a look at each individual transaction, and here is the block that that transaction was in. Now let's just take a look at our consensus nodes. There are 103, as we mentioned, but not all nodes are in action. Notice these bottom 4 nodes are red flagged. They're no longer getting paid anything. If I go to this one right here, for example, this node was last paid January 29th. And that's because if we take a look at the punishment list on the 20th of January, and before that, this node was red flagged, was yellow flagged. So let's go back one. We're going to go up here, and this guy is healthy. This guy has a credit of 1. That's the best credit you can have, 1 or 100%, let's say, depending upon how you want to look at it. And when you if your node is unavailable to process a block when it's called to process a block, then your credit rating is going to go down and you will get a yellow flag. And the number of yellow flags you get control what your credit rating is. And of course, people who want to stake in a node only want to stake in nodes where they have high credit ratings. So the onus is on the owner of the node to make sure that their node is operating at peak efficiency. And one more thing we're going to look at here is the contract. These are the programs that have been deployed on the blockchain and execute against the blockchain when they're called. Let's take a look at this contract right here. This contract has several methods in it, but the one method that actually interacts with the blockchain is called seal product, and you can, of course, look at the transaction for that. And every single time seal product is invoked, there is a payment of NULS, not very much, but a payment of NULS to the owner of this contract. And you can trace all that information back to take a look at it. And that wraps up everything that I wanted to say today. Hope this finds you well, and enjoy your blockchain experience.